Hello and welcome to the Worn and Wound podcast. My name is Zach Kazan. I am the editorial director at Worn and Wound. Really happy to be joined today by two of my colleagues. We've got Kat Shoulders coming in from near Nashville, Tennessee. Is it still really cold where you are, Kat? I know you were dealing with some heating issues and a winter storm. What's the weather report?
Yeah, it's warmed back up. Yeah, we're
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Actually, I say this, I'm fine. I think a lot of Nashville is sadly still without power, which is crazy. But our infrastructure here was just not meant to take the ice storm that we got. So yeah, hopefully people get power and water up soon.
Yeah, no, you need those things, in the wintertime. For sure. I'm glad you're back to working from the normal, place.
Yeah,
I
my
know
office.
you had relocated to the warmest spot in your home. So glad to see you in familiar surroundings. Also joined by Zach Weiss, coming to us from New York City. They're also dealing with storms and cold and all the rest of it.
All that.
Yeah.
Yep. It's still cold.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Same here. It's I'm in Concord, New Hampshire. It's freezing. We're just coming off one of the coldest weekends in recent memory.
Crazy.
It's quite bleak here. January had 60 days in it, I think. February is a shorter month. So hopefully we're nearing the end.
I saw something interesting, and this was on Nicholas from Fears' Instagram, his stories. But apparently this is a very rare February in terms of its formatting. It happens once every 823 years, where it has 4 Saturday. It's basically a complete calendar. If you look at it, it's 4 of everything. And if you look at it, it guns from a Sunday and ends on a Saturday. So it's perfectly 4 exact weeks, which is cool.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. So you're living through history now. 28 days though, not 60, thankfully.
That seems like the history we'll remember from this time period.
Nothing else.
That's the most notable thing happening in the world. Today we're talking about, speaking of notable things happening in the world, we're talking about watch regrets. And we did an episode on this a while back, years ago. I think pandemic era, we did an episode on watch regrets. And it was really popular. We got a lot of good feedback on it. I think we also did an article on watch regrets at some point. So we're going to talk about decisions we've made, watches we've owned, maybe watches we've sold, perspectives we've had, just things we regret about our lives in watches. I've got a short list of things. I don't have many regrets, but I have a few.
Either.
Yeah. This might be a short podcast if we don't have a lot of regrets. Before we do that, we've also got a couple of new releases that we want to talk about just to kind of get caught up on. But we'll do a wrist check first. Zach, why don't you kick us off? What are you wearing today?
Sure, I have on my Ming Monolith. Just called out to me today, and it's nice in the snowy New York. I walked through Prospect Park today, and it's all snow covered except for the pathways. And I took a little stroll onto the snow and took a photo over it. It's a nice void over the white snow. The snow in the park is still white. It's gray or yellow on the streets at this point. So
yeah, we've reached that. The snow is the snow goes from oh, so pretty, so aesthetically pleasing to being really disgusting after the dogs have gotten to it and all the
it's really
car
bad.
exhaust and everything. It's really it becomes less nice to look at very, very fast.
Did I see today that the groundhog saw his shadow? So
yeah,
that sucks.
Yep, it does. We're just bringing you all sorts of good news here on the Worn and Wound podcast. Yeah. I love that, Ming. That's an excellent choice. I'm working on an article on the 37 series case and how that's kind of to me just a perfect modern case design.
It's beautiful,
which that Ming makes good use of.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent
this
choice.
is a 37.
Yeah.
Of course.
Kat, what about you? What are you wearing today?
I am wearing my IWC Spitfire.
Excellent.
UTC 3251, I think is the reference number to this one. Pretty rare, kind of a mid 2000s model that they don't make anymore and was really, really hard to find. Took me years to find this watch. And
cool.
It has remained in my collection, one of the few. And I won't get rid of it because it was so hard to find.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
What kind of strap do you have that on? It looks like a colorful...
This actually might be my Fears strap that I just stole
okay.
from my Fears and put it on this. It's a baby blue color.
Yeah, looks nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'm wearing my Tudor Black Bay today. Haven't worn this in a while, but just decided to throw it on. today.
Nice.
Just classic, kind of like generic in a good way sports
Old faithful.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. I like the 5-link bracelet. Don't call it a Jubilee.
Yeah.
It's good. Good looking watch. Okay, guys, let's before we get into watch regrets, let's talk quickly about some new releases. I wanted to touch base on a couple of new watches. First, out of the gate, we ran out of time in our LVMH Watch Week recap episode. I wanted to touch on this watch is kind of like a palate cleanser or like alternative programming for the LVMH releases, and that's the new Toledano and Chan watch that came out. Well, I think right at the beginning of LVMH Watch Week. Actually, this watch is their latest release. It has a solid gold ripple dial that I thought was like particularly beautiful, and a slightly resized case. It's in titanium now and is a little bit smaller, which I think makes a pretty big difference. It still has the really distinctive faceted crystal and sort of like the asymmetrical presentation. I really love this watch a lot. Phil was kind enough to drop it off at the office and kind of like, like gave like a full explanation, like of the watch, like in person, which was nice to just kind of like hear him talk about it and like why he made some of the decisions that he did, along with his partner Alfred Chan, who's the designer, the watch designer of the two. Zach, I know you made a nice video on this watch, which we'll link to. What were your thoughts, overall on this Toledano and Chan piece?
Yeah, it was just like a very impressive watch. Like I didn't unfortunately get the rundown from Phil because I wasn't in the office at the time. So just being like handed it cold, it just impresses. It's beautiful, different, very striking, avant-garde, just things that, I think are exciting to see in watches that are coming out from independent brands, from New York brands, from American brands, just all these little things that are just, I'm very excited to see. I like the use of materials on this a lot. Obviously, I've praised titanium openly very often. I think there's a really good use for it because, like I said, they downsized the watch a little bit, but because it's an integrated design, like the bracelet starts at like over 30 millimeters wide. So it still wears like a cuff, but this just helps it a little bit. But then the weight reduction really is quite dramatic. I'd imagine, something like 33%, but like in steel, that could be like a, one of those like exercise bands on your wrist. It's a chunky, it's got some chunkiness to it because of the asymmetrical sort of shapes. It's just like a lot to get lost in this watch in a cool way. The crystal is exceptional. But yeah, no, more to the materials, but then the gold, like, I like gold. I've said that before as well. I think it's special, brings something special to a watch. And I like seeing people work with gold a little bit more, which we haven't really seen very much of. Seeing some lab grown diamonds, which is interesting as well, a little less for me personally, but like, I like gold. Christopher Ward did like a gold bezel a couple of years ago, which they haven't followed up on. But then seeing it with that pattern, which I don't even know if they make, if it's stamped or if it's milled or something. It's just, I don't know, it's just beautiful. Yeah. Really beautiful. Yeah.
It's a really pretty watch. I don't know a ton about Toledano and Chan. So it's Mr. Enthusiast, right, Phil?
Yes. Yep.
That's his Instagram handle. So is he like a designer from what I can tell, or is he sort of like a graphic
he's
background?
A photographer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he actually, we can link to it. He actually is doing some really interesting work with AI and photography. Really cool stuff. But yeah, no, he's a photographer and kind of like, I don't know that he's a trained like designer, but he definitely has like a good sense of design, and he's just like he's also like a car enthusiast, and has been collecting watches for quite some time. Seems to be really into like clothing, like like menswear,
fashion,
as well. Just has like really interesting taste, and I think that like comes through in these watches. And on his Instagram, like he's kind of like the originator of the whole like geezer watch trend, like these like, small watches with like like shaped cases or like gem set dials and other things, which I think the Toledano and Chan watches kind of like trade on that idea to a large extent. You could even argue that like this whole like mother of pearl stone dial trend kind of like starts with him and his kind of like crew, for lack of a better term. I think that there's an argument to be made there. I think, but
these are cool. I can see the fashion aspect of it in this watch. It's very fashion forward, I think, and how it plays with angles and jewelry almost.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've really like taken to these really odd shaped watches. I think as of late, like I think about this and Noma, and obviously there's things like the Crash. I'm leaning more towards a watch that doesn't traditionally look like a watch. I think you get kind of bored in this hobby, right? Because they all kind of look the same. So stuff like this is really welcome, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. I'm sad I didn't get to see it in person.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the price point on this watch? It's around $10,000, which is around the same price as the next watch we're going to talk about. A lot of people are kind of, making the usual gripes about, how a brand that came in originally with a, pretty affordable watch, I think it was like around $5,000 or so, their first release is now effectively doubled in price. My own opinion is that brands should be able to make a watch at whatever price they want, and like coming in with an initial watch at an affordable price point doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to experiment with a much higher priced watch. I actually think that's really interesting and kind of like tells you a lot about a brand when they do that. You guys have any thoughts on the pricing of this watch or any of the reactions?
Well, it sounds like he used some interesting materials on this one, right? Titanium and then a gold dial. And
yep.
I mean, it's my understanding like titanium is not always like the easiest to finish. And again, I haven't seen this watch in person, but based on like the video and photography, it looks very well finished in my opinion, which is like not always easy to do. So I don't know. It just depends on the level of craftsmanship that goes into the watch. Obviously, the movement sometimes can take that into account, but I haven't seen this in person, so it's hard for me to say like if it's justified. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to kind of reverse engineer a watch or like where does the value come from? I think is always a challenge that, we're discussing. I think, if you were to just trying to like do it in my head a little bit based on what I know about the costs of things, like it doesn't strike me as surprising that it's a 10 grand, if you were to kind of deduce what some of those parts, like that crystal alone is probably a few $100s to make. The dial being solid gold is really expensive right now, also several $100s to make. Like it's just like you can add it up and then you throw a multiplier on there because it's a business that probably does retail and stuff like that, so they have to have their margin, and you can probably quickly get to around 10 grand. So yeah, it's not that surprising to me. But I also think like, between their first launch and this one, they've done a lot of stuff with auction houses and art pieces, and I think they've figured out who some of their audience is, or their customer base, and their customer base is probably able to afford $10,000 watch without any concern. So whether, and this also doesn't mean that all their watches are going to cost this, like
right.
But it's interesting. Like I think I was trying to articulate this in the video that I made, but I can just like say it more succinctly here. Like I think this is what like a small independent brand version of like a high jewelry watch is right now. Whereas, it's a $60,000, $70,000 watch in, a Swiss luxury brand. This is a $10,000 watch, which, it's interesting. It's a step in the, I don't know, right direction. It's a step in a direction towards something more, just jewelry sort of oriented. And it's not like a pejorative,
Yeah, no, it feels like a very specific choice to make a very like particular kind of watch that is a little bit more ostentatious maybe in its presentation. Gold will do that, especially, gold that has like a very, like well-defined texture like this, like it really kind of announces itself. So yeah, I think the price seems defensible to me. Like I didn't like see the price and think like, oh my God, what have they done? It seems like pretty, just pretty normal, for like an independent watch, released in 2026 with these materials from a brand that, like, as you said, Zach, I think the auction point is really good. Like they've sold multiple watches at auction for like upwards of like $20,000, I think. So, yeah, like unique pieces, prototypes. So yeah, I think it's, I don't think they'll have trouble selling these watches to their customers for sure.
Yeah.
The other watch I wanted to just quickly touch on is a watch that you actually have at your desk, I think, Zach, and that's the new Omega Speedmaster. Often, or also, just much discussed in terms of its price, which is roughly the same as the Toledano Chan watch, which I think is interesting. You've already made a little Instagram reel, Zach, about this watch. I'm wondering if after having a little bit of hands-on time with it, if any of your opinions have changed or what your kind of like overall thoughts on this watch are.
So, I mean, I'll say my opinion of it was, it looks very nice. It just, the price of like 10,400 or 10,200, whatever that is, knowing where Speedies have been even in the last few years, it's just like they've jumped up a lot very fast. They're almost double what they were like before COVID or something. Maybe they are, This one's got a little bit of like fussiness to it. So it's like a couple extra features that they're like charging you for, which feels unnecessary too, coming from a brand like Omega. Like, oh, it's a ceramic bezel, therefore a few $100s. Like, give me a break. It's probably not that much for them to make that. But price point aside, it's an inverse panda, like an inverse panda chronograph. I'll hold it up now. There's like nothing not to like about that conceptually. If you like the Speedmaster, which I do, and I actually have a professional here, and then the white polar, or rather Moonwatch and the polar here as well, looking at them all side by side. Like, I forgot how much I like Speedmasters, honestly. It's another great looking Speedmaster. Voila,
Yeah.
Comparing them all, which is what I'm doing in like the article, because I don't know how many full reviews of a Speedmaster do you need. It's like it's the same. I'm not going to tell you how this case wears. If it's like we've written about it 5 times probably already, it's the same exact case. For me, where it gets a little conceptually more challenging is that I think it starts to leave the professional behind and just sort of goes towards fanciness, like in like luxury. I mean, there's a lot of high gloss materials on this, rhodium on top of a black dial, also rhodium plated mirror hands on top of white surface. Like, legibility just was not like the focus on this one, which to me is like, that's the professional sort of aspect to it. So like, if you're going for a Speedy and you want the sport side of things, this wouldn't be the Speedy to get. That'd be my opinion, at least.
It feels so. I haven't seen this watch in person yet, but it seems to me like it's kind of it's more in line with the white dial Speedmaster than the kind of like standard issue matte black traditional Speedy Pro, in that like it's being presented as a more premium offering. Whether that's true or not, I think is like maybe up for debate and your personal taste. But like I think like the high gloss finishes and the ceramic bezel, to your point, Zach, are little call outs, by Omega saying this is like a higher end like luxury item, and we've priced it accordingly. Although like the standard issue Speedmaster still like is also like quite a bit more expensive than it than it was like 4 or 5 or 6 years ago. So like they're getting more expensive. But I feel like now Omega has this like kind of separate like offshoot line of Speedmasters that are like really like luxury objects, as opposed to like the traditional Moonwatch, like historical thing that like NASA nerds like me, are potentially interested in. Kat, you've owned Speedmasters, right? You're
several,
yeah, that's what I thought. What are your thoughts on the kind of like evolution of the Speedmaster and kind of like what these watches
and do you
represent?
Currently own a Speedmaster? No. Okay,
maybe that's.
No, I do not. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a move that's been coming for a long time. I'm not really shocked by it, and to both of your points, I do think that they're moving into a more luxury market. Like, I don't think that Omega's in the tool watch game anymore, and I don't think Rolex is either. If you look at the latest Submariner, it's not what it used to be, and it's not meant to be that anymore. It's a completely different thing. I think if you want something like that, then there are thousands of used Omega's Speedmasters that are on the market. Same if you want a really cool Submariner or Explorer, you could go find an older one. But yeah, I don't think this brand makes watches that are meant to be used as tools anymore. I think they're luxury items that are fashion heavy, and they're very nice. Like I think they're a very nice watch. They're beautiful, but I just don't think that they're really meant as like a tool anymore.
Yeah.
So accept the astronaut cosplay aspect of it and just lean into, I just want a pretty thing.
Yeah, I think that, you have to. I agree.
I mean, they're only 50-meter water resistance anyway.
Yeah. Jeez, what are you going to
do? Two quick additions. So the thing that's actually interesting about the white one, and I like the white one a lot, like, to me, this is like, if you wanted a more modern alternative to the black dial, this feels like that to me. Like, it does have that sort of premium feeling like you're talking about from like the materials. I was just writing, like it almost looks like it would be like a ceramic dial. It's not, but it's like such a pure white, and it's almost plasticky with these sharp edges. But it's high contrast, and like it still feels like sport forward. Whereas the Panda just doesn't. It feels like, a dressier version. I also have the solid gold one here, and oh my god.
Yeah, if you're gonna get a Speedmaster, just get that one.
Yeah. The gold on the dial, that's the ticket there.
Yeah.
A little bit yellow gold.
For sure.
Only 50K.
Gold one's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on from new releases and go to our watch regret. So I asked you guys to come up with just a handful of things you regret, in collecting or your watch. Like I said, your watch lives to this point. This is something that like I feel like it's discussed on like forums and Instagram a lot. People are just kind of like reminiscing about like the mistakes that they've made. And it's often said that like when you start collecting, like you make a lot of mistakes. We've all been at it long enough that I feel like the days of our like biggest mistakes are hopefully over. And as I was kind of like going through this exercise, I did struggle to think of recent mistakes that I've made, and I kind of turned more towards just like ideas that I've held that I've kind of like gone back on. There's things I've like changed my mind on. So I'll start, and one of those things that I've evolved on, let's say, is the idea of cheap straps. I used to be a big proponent, and I have a box full of them somewhere, of like cheap straps bought on Amazon, because I was just addicted to like getting a new strap and having it like delivered to me the next day for like $20 or $30. And I don't wear any of those straps. They're all just junk. Like they're not good. And there's something so satisfying about a really nice leather strap that is like perhaps custom made like for your wrist size and like the exact color you want, with like the threading color that you want and the style that you want. And those straps are really made to last. They're meant to like improve, and like break in over time and develop patina and look nice. Whereas like the cheap ones, obviously, they just like fall apart and become unusable. They're like, like cheap shoes, basically. Like you just, they're, or tires, like they wear out and you have to like dispose of them and replace them at a certain point. So I used to say, I've even said it on the podcast at one point, I'm sure of it. I said like,
I do remember.
Embrace a cheap strap. I regret saying that, as I don't feel that way anymore. Now I feel the opposite. I feel like save your money and get like a handful of like really nice straps that you want to have for a long time. And this isn't about any particular like strap maker or anything. I think we can all kind of point to favorites that we have that like do a really nice job. But like if I see a strap that's like less than $100, I'm kind of suspicious. Like I don't really I kind of just feel like there were probably compromises made with this strap. Even though it's like there's probably like a huge margin, on any strap that's like, over $100. I don't know. I feel more comfortable with with just like the better stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think about, kind of like spending a little extra on a strap? Zach, we sell straps in the shop. I know you have like you have insight into this that like Kat and I might not. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think on a personal level, it took me a while to get to a point where I was spending more on straps. I feel like I actually don't buy straps that often. I kind of go through the ones and just rotate the ones that I have around my watches, because they're all like 20 millimeter, basically. And I have now invested in a few nicer ones that are just my style or my taste or whatever. Shout out like David Lane. I got a couple of his straps at a wind up, and like those, like one of those just lives on my Longa now. That's just like, I'm not going to take it off of that as far as I can tell. But like, it's interesting to hear you like think about the price like in terms of quality, because I think it was like literally yesterday I was out with some friends and I referred to straps as like the beverages of the watch industry, because like in like the margin on a lot of them is probably outrageous.
Yeah, insane.
I don't think I want to get too much into that without I'd probably get pissed people off, but I think the quality isn't necessarily related to the price. I think people have established certain price points that have now just become normalized, and and the reaction is, oh, well, if it's less than X, it's not good.
Yeah.
I just don't think, I mean, there are going to be differences, and there's little things you can look for. I mean, the quality of leather, like they usually will say what kind of tanneries that come from if it's good. There's ways to look at the stitching. Like if the stitching sort of has like a certain twist to it, that probably means it's hand stitching versus machine stitching. But machine stitching is fine. It's just if you want to point at something to pay more for,
Yeah.
I'm just rambling now about straps. I don't know, but I have a lot of straps because we made them. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I just have like bags of all the straps. My wrist has shrunken in size recently, so a lot of my straps don't fit me very well anymore, like the older ones. So I haven't been wearing them, but yeah.
No, that's also something I've experienced where like a strap, like that you really like, either like just for one reason or another doesn't fit. Like either your wrist gets smaller or larger, or like maybe the strap gets like so broken in, like the size just like changes, and it's like that's a frustrating thing, especially when you have a strap that you really really like and it just doesn't fit right anymore.
Yeah.
And that will happen because of just the way leather kind of like ages. Kat, how about you? Do you have like tons of cheap Amazon straps arriving daily for you to swap in and out?
Part of my exercise for this episode, looking back at like watch regrets, I scrolled to like my very first Instagram post and I was trying to like just look at my collection over the years. And one thing I noticed early on was like all the cheap straps that I would buy that were just like, Amazon specials. And I don't have them anymore. I've tossed them. But this weekend when I was putting this IWC on a strap, I have just like a whole bucket, and I took all the straps out. I stopped halfway through organizing. So in my closet back there is just a bunch of straps laying on the floor. But I remember a time like being scared to buy a strap that was over probably like $70. That was a big deal. And I remember just being shocked that I spent that much money. And now it's bad to say I don't bat an eye. It's still like a heavy purchase, but I guess I know it's worth it more, and I'm more careful about the straps that I buy.
It's such a funny thing though, because it's like we're talking about that, like our watches cost thousands and thousands of dollars.
I know, it's like so $8,000 watch.
The thing that connects it to your wrist, that keeps it from falling off and hitting the dirt, that is like also in surface area the largest part of your watch. Yeah, like you should probably spend more money on it. But
don't go cheap on freaking spring bars too. Like don't get the freaking cheap thin bars that are going to break and snap. But I guess I'm more okay with spending more money, knowing that it's justified. And I don't know. I guess I didn't know much early on, so I just wanted to buy a lot of things. So I just went on Amazon and bought all the rubber straps and all the NATOs that were terrible and scratchy and itchy. And now knowing what like a good quality nylon strap feels like an Adapt or Crown and Buckle, there's like no comparison to the ones that you can find for like $15 or $10. It's like complete night and day.
Yeah.
And I bought several straps recently, David Lane, Deluxe, and I think they're well worth it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'll throw out
any final thoughts on strap sack before we?
Just my final thought was just that like I once was repulsed by Gator, and now I kind of like Gator. So that's the thing.
Wow, that's a big change. I can remember you used to be a Gator hater. Pardon the pun.
It was
the rhyme there. Yeah, no, I can remember you being vociferously anti Gator at certain points. But you've embraced it.
I don't know. Yeah,
along with gold. You really.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's got to be an age thing. It's like some brain damage over the years or something.
Yeah.
But you know what it is? Like the stamped Gator, like fake leather straps that feel like plastic and whatever, those I still find repulsive. And it's just you can get there's better alternatives at those prices.
Yeah.
But like real Gator straps break in beautifully. They have a certain. I don't know.
Listen. Yeah. You want an alligator to have sacrificed its life for your strap. I get
it's already dead by the time it gets to me. I didn't ask for it to die. But like one of my favorites is actually the Grand Seiko SBG W277 that I have, the little dress watch.
Yep.
That one came on a beautiful brown Gator strap, which is now like I just rotate that basically between my 19mm watches. It's like such a lovely strap, and because Grand Seiko, they're super well made. I think they're like $400 or something if you just order one off of their sites.
Behind me on the shelf, I have my dad's watch that he wore when I was a kid. When he passed, family members found it and gave it to me. And it was a Citizen watch, like a moon phase Citizen. And it was on an alligator strap, and the strap is like still like held up pretty well. And this is a watch that he wore in the 90s a lot, like wore outside doing stuff, and just like I was very surprised that the strap like really held up a lot.
Those gator hides are very durable because alligators live a very long time unless they're killed for straps or
in the water.
other goods.
Yeah, I don't condone it.
Yeah,
anyway. This is not the right podcast for our views on this particular topic. So let's move on.
Watches and moral podcast.
So a lot we could go into.
Kat, let's hear about your what's your first watch regret that you want to discuss.
I am going to talk about a specific watch. And since we were just on the topic of Speedmasters, I sold a Speedmaster, probably the only Speedmaster. It is the only Speedmaster that I regret selling. And I've owned, I don't know, I think 4 or 5 at this point in my like watch collecting journey. And this was the Mark II Speedmaster that I had with the gray dial and the neon hands.
Yep.
It's a freaking cool Speedy, and the loom was incredible on it. It was so different. It was thick, but like still really comfortable to wear. And yeah, I was just stupid and sold it or traded it for something. And the price on these has started going up. I don't want to like buy one at the current like price that they are.
This is the modern Mark II
this is
from
the
like several years ago.
Yeah,
which is out of production.
Yeah. Right. And they obviously they don't sell these anymore either. But just a really cool iteration of a Speedmaster, and I thought it was super fun, very sporty. It did have 100-meter water resistant. It just kind of had all these cool things and features, but that's a regret for me. I wish I wouldn't have sold it.
Yeah, that's a really distinctive watch. It kind of like that, you said earlier that you are, drawn to these like non-circular watches that are in odd shape. Mark II is kind of like a, it's, I guess, technically a circular watch, but it has like kind of an odd, like oblong sort of like, sort of shape. It's different. So
yeah, it's very different.
Yeah. I bet if you came across that watch now and bought it for the first time, you'd probably own it longer than you did the first time around.
Yeah. I was stupid. Stupid.
Do you remember what you traded it for or sold it for?
No.
I was kind of like going back through the Instagram, thinking about like what I sold some of these watches for, and if there was any regret there. And there is actually, I do have one later that, will come up, but like, it's such a mystery, of like what I turned these watches that I got rid of into, you know, like they might not have even been watches. I might have needed like new tires or something. And
speaking of regrets, I wish I kept a log like that. That's a regret.
Yeah.
I wish
that's a good one.
I had enough foresight to like, I don't know, create a Excel sheet and keep track of like every watch sold and bought and what I sold it for. Cause like, now I would love to look back and just out of curiosity know, but yeah.
I'd say it's not too late, but then you're just making another spreadsheet, and who needs another spreadsheet to manage? No, that's I think we all have, like a handful of like purchasing or selling, rather regrets. Like I said, I've got one on my list that I can speak to. Zach, how about you? You got a regret for us?
Of course. I think my regrets are all from the selling side of things.
Mm-hmm.
There was one period several years ago where I had to sell basically everything that I had for cash because I had medical debt, and bills come first.
Yep.
And I wouldn't have sold those watches otherwise. I included my Mark 4.5, included my Hamilton Intramatic, included, I think, probably the Speedmaster 3592, although that might have been after. So there were a lot of watches like I kind of wish I still had, whether or not had like those situations happen, if I still had held onto them, like who knows, when you like, I've made some big purchases and sometimes you add things up and you're just like, oof, like this gets me much closer if I'm willing to let it go kind of situation, which, like when I got my Longa, I let go of a Breguet that I honestly do miss. And now the Breguet would cost a lot more, so I'm unlikely to get it again. But it was like a sacrifice, it's not a regret because it was like towards a goal. The one I genuinely regret, and this is just like, it's like an emotional one, is that my dad had given me a watch like years and years ago. It was a Louis Erard regulator from the older Louis Erard. And And it was kind of big. It was like 42, 41 millimeters, something like that. But it was cool looking. It was a regular based on Pizu 7001. And I wore it for a while, but then like I had no money. So like this thing that was worth a little bit, like meant like I could, sell it towards something else. And I did. And now I look back and I'm just like, wow, that was awful of me. And I wish I hadn't done that. I've actually thought about finding that watch. I mean, not the exact one, but just one of those, just to like have it, just even if I don't wear it, just to be like, it's back now.
Yeah.
But it's not very common. Like that's not like an era of Louis Aurora that's being traded frequently.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting topic. Kazan, have you ever? Is there a watch that you would buy back that you regret selling?
I don't know that there's a watch that I would buy back. I bought back a watch once, not like the exact watch, but like the same watch, and I regret doing that because I just sold it again like a few months after. It's the Tudor Pelagos LHD, which I bought, sold, regretted selling, then bought.
Yeah,
again, and just didn't work. I decided I don't really
but
like
now
this watch actually. So yeah, now I know. Now I'm not going. Was it fool me once, shame on me? Fool me. This quote, whatever. We know the gist. But so that's a watch that like I've learned through multiple regrets that it's just like not for me. The selling decision, it's actually a trading decision that I was alluding to earlier that I regret. There's actually a couple now that I'm really thinking of it. They're tied to like first watches, like of a sort. So like at a certain point I acquired a Rolex Submariner, which was my first Rolex. And I do kind of regret getting rid of that. What I did was I traded it in an even trade for a Sea Dweller, a 16600, which like at the time were like about equal in value. It was just like a straight trade with someone on the Rolex forums, because I just got the idea in my head that like I didn't really want like the most modern Submariner, which is what I had. It was like a new essentially Submariner. I bought it on the gray market. Like it was before like they got like insanely, hard to acquire. Like I bought it for like under retail, if I remember correctly. And I wore it for a while and I liked it, but I just decided like I just wanted to try something else. And it's like not as cool to have like this newer, Submariner, and the Sea Dweller is kind of cool. And I like the Sea Dweller a lot. I like that watch better than the Submariner actually. But what I wound up doing was I got rid of that too. And I turned it into like multiple Grand Seikos, none of which I have anymore. And so it's just like this, like it represents this void in, not like money down the drain, because like it all just became watches that I, would enjoy and wear. And I, if you follow the chain, I probably like have like, at least one of those watches like in my, watch box right now. But I just think like it would be cool to have like the first Rolex that I ever bought. I don't know that I'll ever buy a Rolex again. It's a brand that doesn't really interest me, but like there's like something about having like a Rolex Submariner that is just like, it's a good watch, I probably shouldn't have sold that. I probably should have just like waited and just maybe given it a little bit more time. Because now I think to myself, yeah, it'd be nice to still have that. The other kind of similar story is the very first Speedmaster that I bought, which was like the first kind of like quote unquote luxury watch that I had like ever purchased. It was like a big deal when I bought that watch. I bought it new. It came in like the giant box.
Oh yeah.
And everything. I bought it from Topper, actually. Shout out Topper. Like they gave me a good deal on this watch like years ago. And I sold that too. And that's another one. It would just be cool to like say like, yeah, like I have the, like the first Speedmaster that I ever bought. And like what happened, of course, was I sold that and then bought like another Speedmaster, very similar reference. Sold that. I don't regret selling that. I think maybe the Speedmaster is like not for me. But again, like it's just sort of like a thing that is, like you're the first one of something like significant is meaningful, even if you don't love the watch, forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm getting sentimental in my old, but
no, I mean, I think like there are those watches. I really don't have. I've bought and sold a lot of watches, as you know, and I don't truly have a lot of regrets. But I think one of them is definitely my first like luxury watch which was an Omega Seamaster 300 with, it was mid-size. It had the electric blue dial that was like really, really pretty stainless steel bezel. I bought that when I graduated the PT program and like got my first job as a physical therapist assistant in a hospital. And I sold that watch or traded it, and I regret it. And it's a watch I could buy back, but I think like I would want that one. Like that one was special to me. And yeah, I mean, dumb moves. I think overall regrets. Like I wish that I had taken more time and thought about selling things before I was very addicted to like the buying and selling process. It's really easy to get into that mindset. I'm out of it now, and like I don't crave it the way I used to years ago, but there's like, I don't know, there's this addiction between like flipping and then hunting something and flipping it again and making money off of it. And it was just this cycle that I went through for many years. I do sell stuff now, but it's not, I don't get the same like feeling from it necessarily. But yeah, I wish I just like would have slowed down because I let things go. And particularly that watch, which, you know, meant a lot to me. It was like my first like professional watch that I bought myself and spent over $1,000 on.
I never got sucked into like I never enjoyed the process of like the flipping of it. Like I definitely like went through. I've been through many watches, as I think all of us have. You know, many trials and tribulations on the forums and Reddit and so forth. But yeah, I never enjoyed it. It's kind of reveals something about our personality. So like what if we ever actually like took pleasure in that process. But
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the buying, and not just because you get something pretty at the end, but the like rolling the dice sort of and like feeling the people out a bit and
feeling like you got a deal. Yeah, I don't know.
Feeling you got a deal. Like I, especially like years ago when this wasn't a cool hobby. And I feel like, you know, people would sort of do you solid. Like I don't remember even what it was, but I traded something to a guy for like, I think it was 2 watches, and one of them was a Bulova Accutron Astronaut, like an original one, which I also really wish I had, but you know, it wasn't cool back then. And I remember bringing it to Red Bar, and everyone was like, "What the hell is that?" You know, it didn't click. But now it's an awesome watch. But like, I have a feeling the guy was like an older guy, and he's probably like, "Yeah, I want to send this kid to some cool watches," kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But you know. I don't know. It's all this honing process of learning your tastes and things, and you know, I think Zach, your story of like getting to selling the Rolexes, getting the Grand Seikos, flipping them, and blah 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 blah. But it's like, but now you have a Zeitwinkel, and now you have, you know, you have these watches that are like much more better representations potentially of your taste, which also like you don't have the taste and for a while. It's not like it was there and you couldn't find the right watch. It's like you're developing it. Yeah. And then when you hit 40, you have to know. You have to be done at that point. But
if you start after 40, you're just screwed. Like you you can't catch up at that point. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's like, I think that's accurate. Like I definitely feel like I have, you know, better taste, you know, than I did like even like 4 or 5 years ago. I think that I've just kind of like landed on something, and I reserve the right to, you know, change my mind and evolve, obviously. But so like I just went through an experience of buying a watch, which I'll talk about on another podcast maybe, and having to like, I had to like sell something, you know, trade something in, you know, for this watch to make it happen. And it was a really hard decision, you know, like what to let go of. And you know, I wonder if that will be a regret at some point. I don't think so, because I really like the watch I wound up with.
But you have to sometimes, because like this watch that I know that you picked up, it wasn't something that you were planning on. It's like the unexpected, like, oh, I have an opportunity.
Yes.
I don't necessarily have all this money sitting in my bank account, like ready to go. So
the watch I let go of was also an opportunity, I have to say. So like, I don't know. I traded one opportunity for another. Yeah. And I really like the watch that I let go. It was the one that like made by far the most sense to trade. But no, sometimes you just have to make that decision, and like you can't be, you know, like it's an emotional decision always to buy a luxury watch. It's just such a silly thing, but you can't be emotional about it if you actually want to, you know, like pick up a cool thing, you know, that will, you know, will maybe make you happy, you know. So few things that can do that in our lives in 2026. You got to take the chances where you can.
Yeah. I will file that all the sacrifices versus regrets, right? It's like that watch served its duty. It was proud, you know, it lived and it had an honorable demise and towards this new thing, you know. You had to make a tough call.
It lives on Instagram forever.
It lives on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Zach, you got any other regrets you want to?
Do either of you have a buying regret? Like, is there anything you've ever bought that you regret buying?
I don't.
Or maybe you had a bad experience?
I had a bad experience once. Yeah, that's not really a regret, sort of a situation. Yeah. Well, I guess I regret it because it's time I didn't fill out the individual well.
Yeah.
Which also, like, a well-known retailer of vintage watches, I bought my Speedmaster 3592 from. It arrived with all the lume falling out of the hands. The seal on the back was like melting, and
I know this story.
Not what you want.
And I very quickly was just like, yeah, this is not what the picture showed. And they were like, well, that happens. And I was like, okay, but that's not what I wanted. And then they're like, fine, well, pay me to for the FedEx label to send it back. And I was just like, F you, man. Like,
gosh,
like that's absurd. Like, this wasn't like just a change of mind. Like faulty product.
Yeah.
I had a few back and forth, and I was like, you know what? I'll pay it just so I never have to talk to you again. And then the guy was like, you know what? Don't pay it. I want to pay it so that I never have to talk to you again. Neither of us are ever going to talk to each other again. Yeah. I guess I did win that one in the end. And then I found a good 3592 from somebody else, and no problems. So
yeah.
But yeah, so it goes.
Kat, do you have a buying regret that you want to share?
I don't. Luckily I've never regretted. I mean, I've regretted buying something that I've bought multiple times, knowing like I shouldn't have bought this watch. I think the Grand Seiko is one of them. The SBGM 221, the cream GMT. I've bought that watch 3 times. I was
going to say you've had it a few times.
Yeah. That's like, but I don't regret it. Each time I spent with it was good. It's just like, just wasn't for me. It's just there's something that draws me to that watch, and there's several watches like that I come back to and miss because they're just so beautiful, and I just don't wear them enough. But yeah, other than that, I've been lucky. I've had some iffy watch dealings just back in the day of buying stuff off the forums, but again, I think people were like, we worked it out. We were like adults about it. I think social media has changed the watch buying space a lot. People think they know everything about everything, and I don't know. I do think people were easier to buy from, easier to sell to. I don't look forward to selling a watch anymore, and I don't sell through like Reddit. I will just send my stuff to a watch dealer who will sell it for me, and I pay him a percentage because I just don't want to deal with it. I hate it now. But yeah, I think it's just it's opened the doors to so many scammers, and I just don't even want to deal with it. So.
Yeah, it's a different era, and I think Zach, you said something earlier, about how like you were, buying or selling a watch online before the hobby was cool, and I think that was a better time to be buying and selling watches on forums, and now because there is like a certain cachet or whatever with watches, it's a more mainstream hobby. It attracts a different type of person to those forums, and it's not you're not guaranteed to run into like-minded enthusiasts necessarily like you would have maybe like 5 or 6 years ago even. So
I thought of a regret, 2 regrets.
Okay.
So one was so I used to have a Seiko bullhead, the blue bullhead. There's a little while where those were hot and they were kind of hard to find, and both those and the Citizen bullheads were also famously had famous faked dials and all sorts of other things. And I had that watch for a while, and then eventually learned that it actually had a fake dial, and somebody pointed out there was a specific serial number you look for, and blah 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 blah. And then once I knew that I didn't want it anymore. And I sold it with the caveat that just so this has this fake part, and I sold it for like $100, something like that. So the person eventually bought it, but so that's sort of a regret. But it was a regret after the fact, I guess. I enjoyed the watch for a while though. Those are cool. Why doesn't anybody talk about Seiko chronographs anymore? It was such a big thing, the 6139s and 8s.
Yeah.
Maybe we got to bring that back. And the other was just, so it was during COVID that I got, and I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it was a squally, kind of 50 fathoms sort of model, based on the case that they actually made. And it was a 39 millimeter, but had a 22 millimeter lug, something like that. And when I put it on, it just did not click at all. It's not shade at the brand or whatever. It just for me, I just immediately, when I got it, I opened the box, I put it on, it's just it did not work. And that's actually the one that's inspired that article that I had written, and I'm blanking on the name, the one that like it's not you, it's me kind of an article about letting things go. But yeah.
We'll find it and put it in the show notes.
I know, I'm blanking on my titles right now.
Yeah.
I think that was the title.
Wasn't that?
Something close to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you just know like immediately that a watch is not right. I've definitely had that experience. I struggle to think of specific examples, but like I don't really consider those regrets necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just like a mistake, you know? Like everyone, we all make mistakes. It's not, you know, sometimes these decisions
to regret
like,
when the watch costs like $50,000. Luckily, this was like $400 or something like that. It wasn't too,
Still sting. Zach Weiss, do you have any regrets about Worn and Wound, like the company? Is there something that you wish you wish like you would have done or didn't do or anything like that early on?
That is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, to know. Yeah. I feel like I'd have to think about that for a little before I come up with a really good answer.
Yeah, and talk to your business partners before you answer publicly.
Yeah, I mean, there's always decisions that we made where, like, especially early on, where you know we couldn't afford to do everything because we're self-funded, and especially like before the retail shop, before we're selling watches, things like that. Like there was very, very little like revenue for a long time. So like. Like we just would have to choose like one big project a year. And there were projects that fell to the side that I kind of think, oh, well, if we'd done those, maybe those could have been something by now. Yeah. But I wouldn't do them now either because the world has changed, you know, and like it's just like a different thing.
I was curious, did you guys ever consider print at all at any time? No. Yeah.
No, print was like dead.
Yeah, it was already kind of dead. Yeah, at that point.
I mean, yeah, and it was like in the news at that point that the magazine shutting down or consolidating and this and the other thing, and watch magazines also were kind of closing. So print was like the thing to get away from, and it was honestly the death of that gave birth to us in some respects. And then I thought it was really funny years later when Gear Patrol and Hodinkee and other people started going back to print, but there's money to be made in the marketing in print, so that's sort of why that happens.
I mean, I think even Gear Patrol doesn't even do print anymore. I think they've
gone
they
back. Don't. Hodinkee still does theirs, though. I think it's on a slower cadence, maybe. But.
I have one more regret that I just thought of. I regret losing my very first watch, the first watch that I can remember, like picking out for myself and buying, and I wore it for years before I was like a watch person. It was a Citizen chronograph of some kind, like it was just a quartz chronograph that I bought at Macy's with my bar mitzvah money. I just decided I wanted a watch, and it was like this gaudy two-tone thing with like a glossy, I think it had like a sunray brown dial.
Oh wow!
So you can imagine it's like very like chocolatey kind of like with the two-tone and the brown dial. It was I was just drawn to it, and I wore it like all through like high school and college, and at some point I just sort of like lost track of it. Like I stopped wearing a watch every day, and I don't know where it is. I'm sure I just like lost it in a move or something probably at some point, but I wish I still had that, because I had no idea that I would one day have like a much deeper interest in watches, let alone a career in the watch industry, and it'd just be a cool thing to have. I actually consulted ChatGPT a while ago, seeing if like I could like describe the watch and it could like pin it down, for me. So I could, because periodically I've searched on eBay for, like these quartz Citizen chronograph brown dial and, that sort of thing. And I just always come up empty. Yeah. Not that I'd even like be sure I'd recognize the watch at this point, because it's been so long, because I'm old and this was like a long time ago.
You're not old.
But I am old. I'm kind of old. But yeah, ChatGPT was like using that was an interesting exercise for this, because it did kind of like land on some like, search terms I could use and likely, models. And I kind of like, I didn't really pursue it, but maybe I should like dig up that.
It's like a police sketch artist. You're like describing it.
Kind of, yeah.
It can draw it for you basically. if you had a, obviously a good enough memory to really get into all the details, but.
Yeah, which I definitely don't. I just sort of like at this point, it's sort of like a vague, memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish I still had that. I mean, that would be a cool thing to, just not even to wear, just to kind of like put, like just on my desk somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That would be cool. Sold my fossil or lost it. I didn't sell it, definitely, but I've lost it along the way.
I'm somehow lucky that I have a box here in the office of like some of my watches from when I was a kid. I don't know how that worked out because I've lost so many other things in my life, but I've kept a lot of those watches. So I have like this fossil that I feel like I got in like 3rd or 4th grade. I remember it sort of being like picking out. I went to Bloomingdale's with my dad and like picked it out. And now I was looking at it a few weeks ago with Kyle, and Kyle was like, I can see a lot of your taste in this. And I sort of looked at it, had like teal on it, and it was sort of a sector design. I was like, oh shit. Like, yeah. Kind of.
That's cool.
That's
we are who we are. We can't change it, you know? It just sort of like, that follows us. Guys, this has been a fun discussion on watch regrets. Wistful, nostalgic at times, you know, and I think revealing as well about, who we really are. And it was a pleasure. And I would invite listeners to get involved in the conversation. Let us know in the comments or on Instagram or on Warner One Plus, if you're on Warner One Plus, about your own watch regrets. It's always an interesting thing to discuss, particularly if you have like a good story around like a lost watch or something that you gave up and wish you still had. Guys, thanks again for coming on the pod. This has been great. And thank you to everyone for listening. We will be back next week with another all new episode of the Warner One podcast. Until then, take care.